Hey there, guys. Welcome back to our channel. I'm Chris,
And Ralph.
and today we're going to be doing a spoiler review for Spider Man No Way Home. So, if you have yet to see this movie, tell them, Ralphie.
Click away.
Yeah. So, click away. Please don't watch this video. Go watch the movie first in theaters and just experience this movie for yourself. So, yeah, we're going to be doing spoilers. It's kind of, I mean, it's not the hardest thing to do a non spoiler review. Okay, we'll do a quick non spoiler.
Okay.
I like this movie. You like it?
Yeah, like gotta be one of the best Spider-Man films I ever seen.
Okay, that's our non spoiler review. Okay. All right. So, like I said, click off of this. We'll
Yeah.
put a little thing. It says spoilers right here above in the title and all that. And so, yeah. Okay. Leading up to this movie, what are some of the things that you were excited to see, not knowing anything about this movie?
Let's see. Oh, let's see. The Toby and Andrew scene.
No, like that's what you were looking forward to?
Yeah, cause I was thinking, but thinking in my head, like probably or probably not. But turns out the rumors were true.
Yeah, the rumors were true. All the leaks were true. There was a couple of leaks out there, but it was nothing crazy.
And even Andrew Garfield said this one on Jimmy Fallon. Said, "Oh no, that's Photoshop."
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, Andrew Garfield was doing a bunch of media rounds because for his new Netflix movie Tick Tick Boom, actually pretty good. It's like kind of like a musical drama. It's on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, it's pretty good. Uh, so yeah, Andrew Garfield was going all over like Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel. Was he on Jimmy Kimmel?
No, just Fallon.
Just Jimmy Fallon, and basically saying like, yeah, I'm not gonna be in Spider Man. That picture that leaked online, not true. Really, Andrew, it was so true. But okay, so the Toby and Andrew, that's something that you were looking forward to.
Yeah.
As far as like Tom Holland and Doctor Strange, what was something that you were looking forward to with them?
I was really looking forward to see like like the see what's gonna happen next. After after Peter Parker accidentally messed up the spell.
Yeah, that's something you were looking forward to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll give this 1 second. Okay, we just turn the light on real quick. Some things that I was looking forward to was basically the villains that were in the trailer. Willem Dafoe's Goblin, Alfred Molina's Doc Ock, and then we had Jamie Foxx's Electro, and then in the trailers we also saw Sandman, Lizard, and then that was pretty much the villains that we saw, right?
Yeah.
And then there was actually in the trailer you saw like it looked like Hobgoblin, but it was it kind of like a Hobgoblin, but it was regular Green Goblin.
But in a different.
He looked in more. It looked kind of like more like a comic accurate outfit with a hoodie, kind of like a hoodie, and things like that. So that was pretty neat. All right, so starting off, right when this movie starts,
That's up at the end credit scene in or post or mid credit scene from Far From Home when Mysterio reveals. But Iron Man is Peter Parker.
yeah. So that's how the movie starts off the bat. We're right into where the last one ended, and now Tom, well Peter Parker, is trying to get through New York City with MJ,
Played by Zendaya.
played by Zendaya, which we have their Funkos right here.
Yeah.
You want to show them real quick?
So yeah. Right now I only got two, but I did order Ned and the upgraded suit, so 4 down, two more to go.
Nice. All right. You can put it back here if you want. Okay. All right. So Mysterio revealed his secret, and now Peter's going through the city trying to get back home. And then when he gets home, he sees Happy and Aunt May talking, and it's a that scene was pretty funny, right?
Yeah, but when Happy Hogan said, "Oh, we broke up,"
Yeah. So if you don't remember in the last movie, and Far From Home, Aunt May and
Happy
Happy
Hogan.
had a little summer fling, as they said in the movie. But I guess Happy was taking it more serious than Aunt May was. So whenever we see them in this movie in No Way Home, we see them like basically talking like, "Oh, this is over. We're not a thing anymore." And it was pretty funny because Happy was like, "Are you sure we're not a thing anymore?" And Aunt May's like, "Yeah, we're done." And that was pretty neat because Happy was not handling it pretty well. And then, yeah, so Peter shows up, into the apartment, and then it's revealed there's a bunch of helicopters outside of his apartment. That's how the movie starts.
And a bunch of crowds even there.
Crowds. Okay, so this is a dynamic that I wanted to talk about right now with our spoiler review. So in every Spider-Man movie, Toby's, Andrews, and then the Toms that we have.
Yeah.
Okay, so multiple people in Tom's Spider-Man know that he's Peter Parker, but it's Ned, MJ, Aunt May, Happy,
And the Avengers.
and then it's the Avengers. So the Avengers, they're not going to reveal his identity because they're all on the same team.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is really the first time in a movie that we see what it's like for Peter Parker to have his identity revealed and to have people be split on whether to like him or to not like him because overall like Spider-Man the character itself, there's people who do love him, which is a majority of the citizens in New York City and around the world. But there are people like J. Jonah Jameson, played by J.K. Simmons,
Yeah.
that despises him and calls him a menace. So he has his own crowd of followers that are gonna hate on Spider-Man because they think that he did kill Mysterio. They think that he killed Mysterio, even though that's not true. So the basis of the beginning of the story is that there's a split opinion on whether Peter killed Mysterio or not, and so we're starting to see Aunt May, Peter's, MJ's, Ned, Happy. We're starting to see their lives kind of get destroyed by this lie. So get into that a little bit.
Yep. And after and after like, wait, hold on. So yeah, MJ, Happy, Ned, Peter, and May. Well, in an iteration.
Yeah, the interrogation rooms. Yeah, interrogation rooms. Okay, and then go ahead.
Yeah, man. After that, I summoned a lawyer.
Yes. So, all right. So real quick, and then I'll give it back to you. So in the movie, so this is something that it was being rumored. There was a little leak that came out, and it was pretty obvious. But I mean, I still going into this movie, I was like, I want to see it for myself.
See if it's true or not.
If it's true or not, right? So, as this whole sequence of this movie is going on, where they're being interrogated by the police and they're being scrutinized by the media and things like that, Peter and then they need a lawyer up, as they're told by the cops, by the interrogators. So, what lawyer did they go out and get? Daredevil, Matt Murdock. Yeah. So this is the first time that in the proper MCU, which is the Disney timeline, this is the first time they acknowledge a Netflix character, Matt Murdock's Daredevil, because if you haven't seen them, you need to watch them on Netflix. The Daredevil's amazing, Punisher's really good, Luke Cage is really good, Jessica Jones is really good, Iron Fist, it's okay. Of the shows, it's the weakest one, but I mean, you give it a shot if you want to. So in the Netflix shows, it's MCU canon. They acknowledge New York 2012. They acknowledge a bunch of the events that's taking place in the proper MCU, but the proper MCU has yet to acknowledge any of them. But now they finally did it. So we get Matt Murdock, and it's a quick scene, right?
Yeah, like one scene,
like 1 minute to a couple of minutes.
Yeah, the day after Kingpin. Spoiler for Hawkeye, Kingpin.
Oh yeah, so Hawkeye. Spoiler for Hawkeye if you're not watching it. Spoiler for Hawkeye if you're not watching it. The end of episode 5, it's revealed that Kingpin is in the show, and they show actual Kingpin from Netflix. So that was confirmed, and then Daredevil was confirmed. So it's pretty obvious. Okay, so that is, like I said. Oh, that's one of the things that I really liked about this movie is the conversation that they were having about Peter Parker. Is the world's reaction to him being Spider-Man. A lot of his teachers, all of his classmates started treating him very differently whenever it turned out that he was Spider-Man. They were praising him, just sucking up to him, things like that. There was the gym teacher.
Yeah.
The gym teacher played by Hannibal Buress. He was... So, the gym teacher from Homecoming, he's in this one now, and Far From Home, he wasn't in Far From Home, but he's in this one, and it's only for like 30 seconds. It's for pretty funny. So Peter gets to the high school and then he's talking to I forget their names, Martin Starr and then JB Smoove, but I forget the characters' names. The two teachers that were the for the field trip in the last one. What is it called? Guides. So it's them and then it's the gym teacher. They're standing in the hallway, and then the JB Smoove and Martin Starr. They're like, anything that you want, Spider-Man, we're here for you. And the gym teacher's like, I think you did it. I think you killed Mysterio. I don't like you. Like it's just like, oh my god, that was just so funny. I thought that was so funny the way that they were doing that scene.
And then when they're like, so you can swing or crawl throughout the hallway anytime if you want to.
Yeah, and then what did one of the teachers make on the wall?
Oh, a display.
A display with all his stuff.
Yeah, and when they're like, you did all of that to yourself.
Yeah, that was funny. One of the Martin Starr teacher, he made like basically an honorary display for Spider-Man with his jacket, his mask, things like that. Okay, so after that, what happens after this? I gets blurry. Okay, so Peter's like he's upset, right?
Yeah,
because all this is going on.
Yeah. So one way to do this, if three of them get graduation, like congrats for them to go to Boston.
Yeah, to MIT.
MIT. Yeah, for them to get the MIT for them to go to Boston. But since Ned and MJ were involved with them, they deny them.
Yeah. So there's this thing going on, which is probably the main premises of the movie. Peter, MJ, and Ned, they want to go to MIT. That's their number one college that they want to go to, university. So they all apply, and then they all get denied because of what's going on. Peter gets denied because he's Spider-Man, and then the board of the directors are saying like, we can't have you here because of what's going on with you, whether you did it or did not do it. There's too much going on with you. And then MJ and Ned, they got denied as well because they're associated with Peter Parker. So now it's like, we can't have y'all here either. So now, hold on, give me 1 second. Okay, so yeah, so we have Peter, MJ, and Ned upset about MIT because they couldn't get in because of what was going on. So now Peter feels the need that he needs to fix this, that he needs to figure out what to do. So what does he do?
When approach to Doctor Strange for him to get everyone to forget about his Peter Parker. So, and there's one consequences though. If Doctor Strange uses that spell, everyone, like the Avengers, his friends, Happy Hogan, Doctor Strange himself will forget who he is.
Yeah, so that's what Peter does. He goes to the Sanctum Sanctorum. Is it Sanctum Sanctorum?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I sometimes mispronounce it. I have Doctor Strange comics and sometimes I still mispronounce it. Okay. So he goes and he tells Steven, he's like, hey, I need you to reverse this with a spell. And then Wong's like, don't do that. Just don't. You're going to mess up everything. And Steven's like, I'm not going to do it. Yeah. He's like winking. He's like, I'm not going to do it. So Wong leaves. Wong's the only one with common sense in this whole movie. Okay. So now, and like you've seen in the trailer, a big part of the first trailer is Steven and then Peter, working on the spell. And Stephen Strange is like, okay, well, be ready to have no one remember that you're Spider-Man. And then Peter's like, well, I want MJ to know that I'm Spider-Man because that was a whole thing. He's like, okay, MJ knows that you're Spider-Man still. Oh, but I kind of want Ned to know too. Ned's my best friend. Okay, well then Ned knows. What about Aunt May? I really want Aunt May. He's messing up the spell. He keeps talking. And then the spell goes haywire. It kind of explodes, but Doctor Strange is able to get it contained into this little sphere. And now we're like, okay, though. So the spell was stopped. Okay. Let's see what happens next. And then Steven's like, why do you want this spell? He's like, well, and then Peter's like, well, because me and my friends can't get into MIT, right? He said, we can't get into MIT. He's like, well, then didn't you think about talking to the board of director to go and state your case on why you should be able to get into MIT instead of having me make this crazy ass spell? Peter's like, oh yeah, let me do that. And he calls Flash because Flash got in, right?
Yeah.
Oh, talk about Flash real quick. Flash wrote a book about this whole thing.
Yeah.
Talk about that real quick.
So Flash wrote a book about the whole thing be going on there, And
he basically wrote a book saying that he's Spider-Man's best friend, even though that's not true. And he was trying to cash in on that he knows Spider-Man, Peter Parker. That was the whole thing. All right, so Peter calls Flash. He's like, "Hey, where's the board of director at?" She's like, "Oh, well, she just left this place. She's on the highway, going back to the airport. I think at airport, yeah." And so Peter's like, "Okay, I'm gonna go." So he goes onto the highway, and then in the trailer, it's the highway scene.
yeah,
So who shows up?
Doctor Octopus.
Talk about that real quick.
So
Like,
at the at the moment when he shows up, he's like, "Where's my machine?" Peter Parker.
Mm-hmm.
He thinks that was his Peter Parker, even though that wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
So, when Peter Parker armored up, like, when do you got that new suit?
The armor, the Iron Man, the Iron Spider suit.
Yeah.
So just break down that scene, the fight scene.
So the fight scene when, and the Octopus, kind of referencing some moments after from Spider-Man 2 though, and people go like, "What are you talking about?"
Right.
Yeah, and until when he pulls up his from his Iron Spider suit, and Doc Ock said, "Oh, a competition."
Right. And so there's the Doc Ock shows up, and so now it's like, okay, so the spell did mess up. Here's Doctor Octopus, Doc Ock. He's fighting our Peter Parker in this universe, and he's like, "Oh, you're not my Peter Parker," referring to Toby.
Yeah.
So they're fighting, and then it gets to the point where Doc Ock rips off a piece of Peter's suit, the Iron Spider suit, and he absorbs it into his arms. So in the trailer, remember whenever you saw like his arms had like some red to it? It was that he absorbed Iron Spider's suit, but when that happened, it turned out that give me one second. So now that Doc Ock has some of Iron Spider's metal nanotechnology in his arms, Peter is now able to control him. So now Doc Ock has no control of his arms, and Peter has him restrained. So as he's trying to explain to him, as Peter's trying to explain to Doc Ock, like, what the hell's going on, or who are you, we hear a laugh. Whose laugh is that?
The Green Goblin.
What happens with that one?
He threw one of his pumpkin bombs, and now also like Doctor Strange and got the spell like back to this.
To the portal back to the Okay. So so Green Goblin shows up, iconic suit, iconic glider, iconic noise, the pumpkin bomb, and the whole nine. He's coming towards Peter, and Peter's like trying to figure out what to do, and then there's a portal that comes through and takes him back, and it's Doctor Strange. And now Peter's back to the Sanctorum, and he's with Doctor Strange, and he sees that there's already a few villains there. Who was there already?
Oh, only one, which is the Lizard.
Lizard? Was Sandman wasn't? No, it's not Sandman. It was just Lizard by himself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Okay, so it was just Lizard. And then, so now Doctor Strange is. So now this is the main premise coming up now. Let's go over a little bit. Doctor Strange is telling Peter, okay, I made cells, like gel cells, kind of to keep these characters in here while you go and capture the ones that are loose, because since you messed up my spell, now everyone who knows Peter Parker Spider-Man is in this universe. So there's a bunch of villains that know in other universes that know Peter Parker Spider-Man, i.e. Doc Ock, Green Goblin,
Sandman,
and as of right now, Lizard. The three characters we've seen, those three know that Peter Parker Spider-Man. They're Peter Parker Spider-Man, but they know that there's a Spider-Man that's Peter Parker. Okay, so now that's where the story like really, really, really kicks in. Is now Peter has to go and capture these villains. So they're trying to figure out what to do. Work on a different suit for him. And now, what happens next? Where does Peter go?
So, when Peter grabs MJ and Ned to find the other one, which is Electro.
Mm-hmm.
So, before he was gonna put on his upgrades too, but decided to wear it inside out.
Yeah. So early in the movie, somebody threw a bunch of green goo on Peter's suit, and he's been having trouble getting it out. So now he just wears it inside out. So in the trailer, whenever you saw that black suit with a bunch of wiring, that's his regular Spider-Man suit inside out. That's pretty neat. I thought that was a pretty cool thing. So now they're trying to figure out where the other villains are at, and there's like, oh, this is reports going on of this electric guy over here in this area in the woods. So now Tom goes to the woods, and now he fights Sandman and he fights Electro, but Sandman helps him.
Yeah, because well, I'm assuming Sandman taking place after Spider-Man 3.
Yeah.
When Sandman shows him like, Peter, it's me, Flint Marker. You remember?
Yes. So now Sandman is kind of like when he starts off not as a bad guy, he wants to help. He wants to help Peter because he just wants to go home himself to go see his daughter. Really sweet story in Spider-Man and Tobey Spider-Man 3. So then we see Jamie Foxx as Electro, and then we see Sandman, and so Peter captures Jamie Foxx and he captures Sandman.
Because Sandman was like, wait, what do you do? What do you do with him?
Yeah. So whenever Peter zapped Electro back to the Sanctorum, Sandman's like, "What did you do to him? Did you kill him? Did you hurt him?" And now he attacks Peter, but Peter's able to wrap up Sandman and take him back to one of the jail cells back at the Sanctorum. So now we have Doc Ock in there, Lizard, Electro, Sandman. Those are the four that we have in there.
Yeah, and then it's a tree also a villain as well.
Oh yeah, whenever Peter was fighting them, this is pretty funny.
Yeah.
He accidentally zapped a tree with his web. Doctor Strange made his webs to be able to zap somebody back to the jail cell, and he zapped a tree, and that was pretty neat. Okay, so now there's one more villain out there that they need to go get, and it's the baddest of them all. It's Green Goblin. So Steven made this contraction where it's like this cube with the spell in it, and there's a button on top of the cube. Once you hit that cube, it's gonna reset everything, and it's gonna send these villains back to their timeline. But these villains don't want to go back to their timeline because in their timelines, each one of them dies. They all die in their timelines.
Yeah.
So now Peter's like, okay, well, we need to help them so they can't be killed. And now that's kind of like the next step in the story where Peter wants to help these villains and not have them be killed because once they go back to their timeline, that's it. So now he wants to cure all of them and send them back so they don't have to die. So that's what's going on now. So, there's a bunch of dialogue, a bunch of funny stuff going on with Ned, MJ, and all them. And then we cut and we see Green Goblin, and where is he?
In the alley, hiding his glider, and I sound like Green Goblin voice is just like from the first movie, and Norman like, no, stop it, and just break the helmet.
Yes. So Norman Osborn, he has this battle going on with him. Oh, did you see that?
Yeah.
So he has this battle going. In the background, we have the Venom fireplace video playing on YouTube on our TV. It's pretty funny. Okay, so now we have Norman Osborn doing Norman Osborn, which he's conflicted because he has Green Goblin inside of him in his mind, and he's lost in New York City trying to figure out where to go. And Peter's trying to look for Green Goblin, and it turns out that Norman is at Feast with Aunt May.
Yeah.
So Aunt May is telling Peter, like, we gotta help him, right? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then what happens at Feast?
So at Feast, though, Owen and Norman, like, he wants to go back to his regular self.
Yeah.
Oh, so they brought him to, what's that place again?
What do you mean?
Doctor Strange.
Oh, the Sanctorum?
Yeah, that's Sanctum. Yeah.
Sanctum. Just say Sanctum.
Sanctum. So they went to Sanctum, but suddenly, Mr. Jameson follows them.
Right. Oh, he does? Wait. Which one? Or to the condo? To the apartment?
Yeah.
I'll pause it real quick. Alright, so they're at Feast real quick. And Green Goblin's there. Norman's there, and he's like confused, and he's pleading for help. And Peter's not trusting him. But Aunt May is telling Peter, like, hey, he's scared, and you're the only one that can really help him. So Peter's like, okay, we'll help him. So Peter, instead of zapping him back to the Sanctum Sanctorum, Peter, Norman, and Aunt May, they drive a feast truck to the Sanctum Sanctorum. Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're followed by J. Jonah Jameson's one of his
Assistant.
assistants, because J. Jonah Jameson really wants to tear down Peter Parker at any moment given. So they get to the Sanctum Sanctorum. Norman gets put into one of the jail cells by Steven. And now, so Steven, Peter's trying to explain that they need to figure out how to turn them back into normal so they won't die. But then Norman's like, Peter, I'm somewhat of a scientist myself. From that famous line from the first Spider-Man, which is so funny. Uh, so all that's going on, and then Steven shows up, and Steven's like, all right, well, I'm gonna hit this button and send them back because we can't. I'm not gonna deal with this. This is it's not our problem. And Peter takes the cube, and we have one of my favorite sequences of the movie, which is a Peter versus Doctor Strange.
On the mirror.
The Mirrorverse, right? There you go. You saved me. I forgot what it was called. So we have this nice sequence in the mirror where Peter takes the cube from Steven because Steven's going to hit that button. And now Steven is chasing Peter throughout different portals, throughout the Mirrorverse. And Peter beats him at his own game. He figures out how to capture Steven, to tie him up, and to take the cube from him and come back to our dimension. And now Steven is stuck in the mirror dimension, tied up with a bunch of webbing. And that's the last time we see him until later on in the movie. So now Peter's like, okay, we need to figure this out. We have to take y'all back to my place, to our place. We had forgot to mention, Happy let Aunt May and Peter stay at one of his apartments in New York. It's a nice condo, really dope. So that's where they're staying at, to keep away from this whole madness from the media and people and all this other stuff. So this part made me laugh. What happens next?
So, under the security camera, each one that walked in and Electro take a look and just at the screen.
So Peter takes all of the villains that were trapped in there, and they just go back to the condo. And it's just so funny seeing Aunt May, Peter, go into a condo while they're just like, I don't know. It was just funny seeing all the villains interact with each other and not beat each other up. So now we're about this point of the movie where it's kind of like the meat of the movie in the middle. Now they're trying to figure out how to send them back, turn them back to normal. And we're seeing Doc Ock is upset because he's tied up because, like I said, he's being restrained, but the chip in his brain is still messing with him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Norman is normal, regular Norman Osborn. Yeah. And he's amazed by Peter's ability to work all this technology that he has. And so Peter and Norman have this cool little sequence where Norman's like, hey, if you want to come back to my dimension, to my universe, you can come work for me. So that was pretty neat. And then there's a dialogue going on. Electro, Sandman, they're like, they don't trust Peter, but they're gonna do it. And then Doc Ock is going crazy because of the chip in his brain. Lizard was left in the truck downstairs. Lizard never even came up. He was just staying in the truck the whole time.
Yeah.
And then so Peter. Oh, this is one of my favorite parts of the movie. Peter is able to fix the chip in Doc Ock's brain and turn him back to normal. And it's nice seeing, Octavius not be controlled by the arms. And he's back to his normal self. And that's really sweet. And then he's working on a formula for Green Goblin. And then he's working on a way to get all of Electro's power out of him, right? So he could be normal again.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have that going on. So there's tension building because there's not trust. They're not trusting Peter because he's Spider-Man, and they all been killed by Spider-Man, so they don't trust him. So there's tension building up in the apartment, and while Peter's working on all these contractions to keep them normal, and we get the Spidey senses the Peter tingle.
Yeah, after noticing what's going on, And turns out, normally his personality switched to be Green Goblin.
Right. So there's like this cool little like sequence where we see Peter. It's just a one shot of him as he's walking through the apartment. His spider senses are going off because he feels something off in the apartment, and he's trying to figure out what it is. And it's like 30 seconds of him, the camera on him, trying to figure out, okay, what's going on. And he notices, he turns to Norman, he hits him with the web, and it turns out, Norman is back to Green Goblin. His personality switched again, and then shit pops off. Norman attacks Peter. Electro attacks Peter. Sandman just left. Lizard comes up to attack Peter. Doc Ock. What happens with Doc Ock? Is he?
Like
oh yeah, down. Okay. Electro zapped Doc Ock, which messed up the chip again. So now Doc Ock, but he's bad again. That was short lived for a little bit. And so he goes, and they're all attacking Peter. And as this is going on, Peter's telling Aunt May to leave because Aunt May has this device to turn Green Goblin back to normal. So we have this dope fight sequence going on between Green Goblin and Peter. Green Goblin is giving Peter the business. It's nasty how hard he's beating his ass. It's crazy. And also, I mean, at the same time, Lizard's whooping his ass. Doc Ock, I think, was beating him up too. Sandman left. Electro was causing chaos. Electro left, I think, too, but he blew up the building basically before he left, and then he left. He did.
And Mr. Jameson said, "Is that a dinosaur?"
Yeah, and then J. Jonah Jameson was downstairs recording the whole thing because that's what he does because he's an instigator. and then the Aunt May is running downstairs trying to get away from everything, and then Green Goblin beats Peter down to downstairs. He beats him down to the very bottom. And explain this next sequence, Rafi. This is so sad. Go ahead.
So as an anime was, eject the serum into a Norman, but it failed. So he got his glider again and grabbed one pumpkin bomb and explode the whole thing. Explode the entire thing.
The glider too.
The glider too. Right. And then left, and then anime, she got hit, and then Peter Parker was starting being sad and stuff, and anime told him, "Great power, great responsibility," and yeah.
So, real quick, Goblin hits May with the glider. He explodes Peter with a pumpkin bomb, and now he leaves on his glider. And we have Aunt May. She's hurt, but she seems okay. She's not. And then she tells Peter, "With great power comes great responsibility." And then so Peter's like, "Okay, well, let's get out of here." And then Aunt May starts to collapse, and then Aunt May dies, and Peter's crying, and the whole thing is sad.
Yeah,
it's easily one of the saddest moments of the movie, and oh my god, it was so sad. Aunt May died. She gave the iconic Uncle Ben line, "With great power comes great responsibility." And then Peter gets shot at by the SWAT teams that show up, I think, because they are trying to arrest him because he's, and it's a whole thing. Peter leaves, and now we have this sad sequence where he's just in the rain listening to J. Jonah Jameson blame him for the death of his own Aunt May. And Peter's like rock bottom, a mess, right? So that was. So how did you feel with that scene?
I was like, man, this is really sad for Peter. First he lost Tony Stark, and then he lost Aunt May. Yeah. And perhaps Uncle Ben in Honest Universe.
Before, yeah. So this whole thing was easily one of the saddest moments in the movie, seeing Peter lose Aunt May die, Happy reacting, because Happy showed up too when he saw Aunt May's body, and he was just like hurt because Happy loves Aunt May. And then so Peter goes and he leaves, and he just needs a moment to himself. But as this is going on, we cut to MJ and Ned, and they're at Ned's grandma's place, I think, or I think they're at Ned's apartment, like with his family. They're just sitting there, and oh, forgot to mention Ned has Doctor Strange's hand
portal
things
thing.
portal to make the portals. Forgot to mention that Peter gave that to him whenever he tied up Doctor Strange. So now we have Ned and MJ trying to figure out what to do, and then Ned's like, "I just wish we can see Peter Parker." And when he does that, there's a little spark that happens, right? So I can explain this.
So as Ned said, "Wish to see Peter Parker again," and shows up, and no, and this Peter Parker shows up, but it wasn't the Peter Parker. It was Andrew Garfield.
Yeah. So Ned opens up a portal. A Spider-Man pops through the portal. Like, oh, that's a Andrew Garfield suit, right?
Yeah.
Andrew Garfield takes off his mask, and then what? It was crazy, right?
Yeah.
It was so like, because this is his Spider-Man growing up, right?
Yeah.
Explain it real quick.
So when as an Andrew Garfield shows up, and that's the suit from Spider-Man, they made Spider-Man 2 though. I was very surprising that the one was Outro.
Yeah.
So as an MJ and Ned say, prove if you're Peter Parker from different universe. So he did his crawling.
Yeah, and just starts crawling on the wall, proving that he is Spider-Man to Ned and MJ. So now we have a new Spider-Man. Not new. It's not new. We've known Andrew for years, but new to them. And then Ned's like, I wish we could still see Peter, like their Peter. Yeah. He does another portal. I'll take this one. And then, oh my God, Tobey Maguire walked through that portal. It's been rumored that there's been leaks. I wanted to see it for myself, which is obviously, I mean, it was the obvious thing. It was going to happen. But I just to sit in that theater and see it for yourself, it was, my gosh. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Yes. Because, quick little story, quick little side note. The first movie I ever saw in the theater as a child was in 2004. And it was Spider-Man 2. Seeing that as a child instantly made me a comic book fan. Instantly made me a comic book movie fan. I love Spider-Man. I loved everything about Tobey and all that. So that was my childhood Spider-Man. And then the last time we saw him on screen as Spider-Man was 2007, which was Spider-Man 14 years ago.
Yeah.
So now we have him back on screen, and he's like, oh, I showed up here like yesterday. And I seen y'all's faces all over the news, but I don't know what to do with that. I'm trying to figure out. And he turns and he sees Andrew. And then what happens next?
And they're like, what the? I forgot what just happened afterwards.
Hold on. Pause it real quick.
So when Andrew and Tobey started shooting webs here and there.
Because they saw each other. Because Tobey looks at Andrew, he's like, the hell? And then they start shooting webs at each other, right?
Yeah.
And then go ahead, what happens?
So and after they made like a bit mess here and there, and then his grandma said, can you clean this up for a bit?
Yeah. They got webs everywhere.
Yeah.
So Tobey and Andrew shoot webs at each other because they're like, who the hell are you? They're like, oh, you're Spider-Man. Yeah, I'm Spider-Man. You're Spider-Man too. So this is the first time, obviously the first time, Andrew and Tobey meet. Oh my God, it's a whole thing. My brain's exploding. I'm so happy. And then we cut back to Tom, and obviously we're sad again because Tom is on the rooftop of the high school. It was a high school, right? It's the high school rooftop, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's on top of the high school rooftop where him and MJ hang out, and Ned. And he's just crying. He's angry. He feels at the lowest point of his whole life because he just lost his Aunt May. And I started getting teary. I got teary-eyed when Aunt May died. I was like, oh my God. I was so sad. And then this didn't help any. And then MJ shows up and Ned, and they're comforting Peter, telling him we're sorry for what happened. But there's people that want to see you, and Andrew and Tobey show up.
Yeah.
Okay, and now this next part, I'm gonna keep saying this. Oh, this is one of my favorite parts. I have so many favorite parts of this movie. Andrew Tobey is they're talking to Tom. I'm gonna name it by their first names now, because there's so many Peter Parkers. I'm gonna go by first names. Andrew and Toby are talking to Tom, and they're like, "Hey, we know what you're going through." And then Tom's like, "No, you don't. You don't know what it's like to lose your loved one like that." And then they let Tom let it out, let his anger out real quick, and then they start telling him like, "We do know what you're going through. I lost Gwen Stacy, and Gwen Stacy's my MJ, and I lost Uncle Ben." And then uh, what did he say? Tom said, "With great power."
And Toby refinished that sentence.
Right? Was it Toby or Andrew?
Toby, guess.
Oh yeah. So Tom said, "With great power," and then Toby said, "Comes great responsibility." And then Tom's like, how did you know that?" And then Andrew said, "Well, because that's what Uncle Ben said." And then Toby says the day that he died. And then so now it's kind of like it's a sad trope in the Spider-Man universe where Uncle Ben has to die and now Aunt May has to die in order to have them become the Spider-Man that they're meant to be. But it's something that is meant to happen in each of the Spider-Man's universes. It's something that happened and it just made them who they are. So now that made them closer. They're comforting Tom, and then it cuts to them at the high school.
Yeah, for them to make the cure for them.
Yeah, so we have all three Spider-Mans, MJ and Ned, and now they're just in the laboratory at the high school, just working on formulas to cure the villains. And so, what was some of the conversations that they were having in the lab?
Yeah, they were in here and there, like when Toby mentioned, yeah, I lost my friend, which is Harry from Spider-Man 3 when now slash Eddie Boy kills as Harry. So when Toby mentioned that, and then Ned said, "Okay, don't worry, I will not be the villain."
Yeah.
So yeah, and as in there, it got the cure ready, set to go. Peter grabbed his web shooter, and Toby was like, "Wait, what's that? Oh, that's my web shooter. Why?" And Peter and Toby McGuire like, and they were like, "Whoa, is that came out of you?"
Yeah. So they're Andrew and Tom are like, "How did you do that?" to Toby because he showed him his web shooter. And if you don't know, which I'm sure you know, Sam Raimi and his movies made the change to make Peter's webs organic to come out of his wrist. In the comics, he always has web shooters. So that's the thing. That's a neat little conversation that we're having. And now they're just working as a team to see all three Peters working with each other, and then you see Andrew and Toby talking amongst each other, talking about their about MJ, things like that. And it's just like you kind of like it's their conversations are epilogues to their own franchises. We're seeing where they're at in their lives after all the events that have taken place in the other movies, and that is so nice. So just I can see them talk for like hours. Okay, so yeah, they worked on the cures, and then now we're at the big finale of the movie, right? Right, Ruffy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At Statue of Liberty when they gonna add the shield.
Yes. So in the Statue of Liberty, they are adding the Captain America shield to the Statue of Liberty. Sam Wilson and then Steve Rogers. So they're adding this shield, and then in Hawkeye episode 5, Yelena.
Yeah.
Remember, Yelena's in episode 5 of Hawkeye, and she says, "Oh, I want to go see the new Statue of Liberty. They're adding some stuff to it. That's pretty cool." And this Captain America shield. So they're there, and then Tom makes this quick video and gives it to Jay Jonah, so Jay Jonah can share it to the whole world because that's what he does. To hey, meet me at the Statue of Liberty. This or that. Yada yada yada. I'm Spider-Man. Like that's basically what happened. And then now we see Tom. No, we see Andrew and Toby. This part, whenever he's like, "My back."
Yeah, and Andrew will fix his back.
Yeah. So Andrew and Toby, they're stretching, because they're older than Tom. They're stretching. They're like, ah man, we gotta get in the suits. And Andrew's like, no, Toby's like leaning back on a guardrail, like trying to stretch his back out. And Andrew's like, oh, are you okay? Toby. Toby's like, oh, it's my back. I mean, I have a bad back from swinging. And Spider-Man, was it one or two? I forget.
Spider-Man 2 when
Yeah, Spider-Man 2.
when Peter lost his power for a bit. So when he makes sure he got his power again, and he jumped on the building in the end, just landed in the car like, oh my back.
Yeah. Oh my god, that part made me laugh so loud. Because Toby's back is hurting because of the that's the whole thing. And then we get Toby. He's like, "You want me to stretch you out?" So he starts stretching out Toby, Andrew, and he pops his back, and he's like, "Oh, thanks. That feels a lot better." And then now there's a quick little conversation with Toby, Andrew, and Tom as they're waiting for the villains to show up to the Statue of Liberty. They're like, "Hey, what's some of the what's some of the odd villains that y'all fought?" And then Tom's like, "Oh, I fought this alien made out of black goo venom." And then what did Tom say?
And Tom said, "Oh, I fought an alien outer space. I fought a purple alien from outer space." They were like, "Wait, you went to space?"
Yeah, Toby's like, "I found it interesting that you went to space to fight this alien." And then Andrew's like, "I'm lame. I haven't fought an alien. I want to fight an alien." And then Toby's like, "Oh, you are not lame. You are amazing." And it's just like, it's so sweet. I was smiling. My smile was ear to ear. It was the biggest smile I've ever had watching a movie. And so they're just talking amongst each other, and then boom, the villains show up. Do, 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 do. We get the theme songs, and they go, and now the Spider-Mans are fighting each villain, but they're having a hard time because they haven't fought the villain that they're fighting. Like Toby's fighting Lizard. He hasn't fought Lizard. Andrew, who was he fighting? Was he fighting Doc? No.
Electro or Sandman.
Oh yeah, so Andrew was fighting Electro, who he's fought before, but Electro's much stronger in this movie. And so now they're not working as a team, and then so Toby, Andrew, and Tom, they're getting beat up by all the villains. They have a quick little team meeting, and they're like, "I thought you were Peter 1. No, I'm not Peter 1. You're Peter 1. You're Peter 2. You're Peter 2. I thought I was Peter 3." And then Tom's like, "No, okay, listen to me. Listen to Peter 1." So Tom is Peter 1. And Tom's like, "Okay, I know how to work in a team." What does he say?
Said, "You're Peter 1, you're Peter 2, and I'm Peter 3." And this and that because they're confusing.
Yeah, no, but like whenever Tom was like, "I'm not gonna brag, but I'm going to," I was in the Avengers. Yeah.
And then Toby and Andrew were like, "Cool. What's the Avengers?"
Yeah. Toby was so funny. That's amazing. What are the Avengers? And then Andrew's like, "Was that a band?" What he said? Yeah, he was like, "Oh, were you in a band?"
And Tom was like, "Wait, y'all don't have the Avengers in y'all universe?"
Yeah. And then they're like, "Okay, so you're Peter 1, you're Peter 2, and then Andrew's like, "I'm Peter 3." And they're like, "We need to work as a team." And then we see all of them running towards the ending of the building.
Yeah.
And they tell me what happens. Like, they're just swinging, right?
They're swinging and landed right there. And an interesting fact, though, when Tom, actor plays Ned, and Zendaya were watching the second trailer, and Tom Holland was gonna say, "Where's the?" When they were watching the second trailer.
Yeah. So we see them swinging together. My smile's ear to ear. It was amazing. And then now we finally see them work as a team, and they're taking the villains out one by one. So the first one that they take out is Sandman. Toby takes out Sandman with a little contraction to turn him back to normal. And then we see Sandman back to a normal person. And oh my gosh, my heart. Because as that's happening, the Sam Raimi theme was playing. The horns. Not the main theme. The horns are playing from the Sam Raimi. and it's just like, oh my gosh, I haven't heard that in forever in a movie in the theater. And so Sandman's normal, and then after Sandman, it's I forget who was next,
The Lizard.
but it was Lizard. So they turned
Yeah.
Lizard, Doctor Kurt Connors. They turned him back to normal, and then after him, it was Electro, right? Or was it Doc Ock?
Electro.
Electro, and then Electro was talking to Andrew, right? And
Yeah.
then he's like, "Man, you're a sweet kid, but I thought you were gonna be black." And then he's like, "Oh," and then Andrew's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And then Jamie's like, Electro's like, "Nah, man, it's fine. There has to be a black Spider-Man out there somewhere, right?"
Yeah,
Which
there
is Miles Morales. So a little hinting at Miles, which is pretty neat. Well, they hinted at him in Homecoming.
Yeah, on the delete scene when Don the glove said, and sorry, Miles, I cannot make it this time. I think he's been wrapped up by Peter.
Yeah. So we have that going on. So now Electro's cured, Lizard's cured, Sandman's cured, and then now we just have Doc Ock and Green Goblin.
But Doctor Octopus joined their side.
Yeah, I forgot exactly what happens with Doc Ock because if I'm not mistaken, his chip was messed up by Electro, but then whenever we see Doc Ock, he's back to normal. I think they made him a new chip. Did they?
No, I'm pretty sure the chip was still broken when Electro just exploded in the apartment. Because I saw a Doctor Octopus fail.
Yeah, I forgot what happened. What exactly how Doc Ock turned back to normal with his brain chip. But okay, so all right, real quick, the Aunt May death scene made me teary eyed. The great power comes great responsibility made me teary eyed. Tears came down. But the part that had me crying, I'm gonna be honest, the part that had me crying was whenever we see Toby talk to Doc Ock. And then we have the Sam Raimi theme playing with the horns. And then Doc Ock's like, "You've grown up. I see. How are you doing?" And then Toby's like, "I'm trying to do better." And they're like, "Oh my God." That's my childhood right there. The first movie I ever saw in theaters was right there in front of me. And I was emotional. I'm just being honest. That part made me really emotional. And then so now Doc Ock's fine. Now there's one more left.
Which is Green Goblin.
Okay, talk about the MJ sequence.
So, as MJ failed, guess.
MJ and Ned are in the scaffolding of the Statue of Liberty. And then, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I think they will try close support because the lizard is fixing about to approach them. They have no choice to run.
Yeah.
And after that one, then he accidentally opened a portal, which is Doctor Strange shows up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, so Doctor Strange showed up again for the first time we see him since early in the movie. And Doctor Strange is trying to, he's trying to, get to Tom so he can yell at him, basically. But he sees that Tom, Andrew, and Toby are curing the villains, and so he lets them do it. And then there's an explosion that happens with Green Goblin. And then, so MJ, okay, go ahead.
So, as an MJ falling, Peter was trying to grab her, but he been catch by the glider. So Andrew saved her from preventing that to happen. Secondly, what happened to him with Gwen Stacy.
Yes, so that's another part man, this whole movie had me emotional, man. I love this movie so much. So, yeah, what Ralphie was saying, so Andrew catches MJ because Tom couldn't do it because Green Goblin took him away. And then we see Andrew carrying MJ. He's like, "Are you okay?" He gets teary-eyed because he's thinking about Gwen Stacy. Because Gwen Stacy, he couldn't, even though he tried to save her, he wasn't able to save her, and because she died. And that was a whole thing. It's like, oh my God, this movie is making all the emotions all over the place. I love it. And so one thing led to another. The Statue of Liberty collapses, and now we have Ned falls, but he's captured by Doctor Strange's cape.
Yeah,
that was pretty neat. Now we have Tom and Green Goblin one-on-one facing off with each other, and Tom is not holding back his punches anymore. He's wanting to, and he's trying to kill Green Goblin because he killed Aunt May. And Tom is beating his ass, hitting him with all the force that he can. He grabs Green Goblin's glider, and as he's about to stab Green Goblin with the glider, Toby shows up,
Yeah,
and
said
Toby stops him.
yeah, but honestly, like Green Goblin just stabbed
Oh,
Toby.
yeah. So you're jumping ahead. So Toby has him,
Toby has
and
him.
Toby's looking at Tom, right?
Yeah,
And then what happens?
and then also the Green Goblin then stabbed Toby.
What was your reaction?
I'm like,
You thought they were gonna kill him?
yeah,
Yeah. My sister screamed out loud whenever Toby was stabbed. Cause Green Goblin stabbed him in the back, as after he just saved his life. But Green Goblin, he doesn't give a crap. And Toby collapses, and then Tom gets. Oh, and then Andrew throws the cure to Tom, and Tom stabs Green Goblin, and turns him back to Norman Osborn. Norman's not even normal to begin with, or whatever. And then yeah, so now we're like, is Toby dead? And then Toby's like, Toby, it's not funny, but Toby makes it funny. He's like, oh, I've been stabbed before. And then Andrew's like, that's good. Like, it's not supposed to be funny because it's sad. Toby doesn't die. Toby gets stabbed, but they make it funny. Like the Spider-Man make it funny themselves.
yeah, and the reason why he said, "Oh, I've been stabbed before," because on that scene with Emo Parker versus when Heavy stabbed Peter.
Yeah, he stabbed him. So Toby is stabbed, but he's fine. He's not gonna die. And now Tom. So as this is happening, all the universe is breaking, right?
Yeah,
Okay, so as this is happening, there's cracks in the sky, and the multiverse is about to collapse. And then you see little outlines of different characters. You see Rhino, you see Craven the Hunter, and there's a bunch of different characters. Those are the only two that I recognized. It was moving so fast. I only saw those two that I recognized. And then Doctor Strange is like, I can't hold this any longer. Like we got to do something. And then Tom says, why don't you make everybody forget Peter Parker? And then Doctor Strange is like, I can't have that. I can't do that. And then Tom's like, well, do it because that's the only way to save everybody. So now the new spell is have everyone forget who Peter Parker is. So, but when that happens, MJ's not gonna know who Peter is. Ned, nobody. So before Doctor Strange casts the spell, Tom's like, I'm gonna go say bye to everybody. So he goes to Tom and Toby. They all hug. Oh my God, they're hugging. The Spider-Men are hugging. And then Tom's like, I don't know how to say this, but he's trying to get the words out. And then Toby and Andrew's like, we know. So then he leaves. And then he goes to MJ. He gives Ned a hug, and they're crying.
yeah.
He tells Ned, like, this is it. And then he gives MJ a kiss. And then she's like, come find me after the spell. And then so Doctor Strange casts the spell. And everybody goes back to their universe. Toby and Andrew disappear. That's the last time we see Toby and Andrew in the movie. Which was, sad. And then everything resets. Everything resets, and then what happens next, Ruffy?
And as in like, when Peter went to that donut shop where MJ works at, and actually he was trying to fix the memory, but decided not to.
Yeah. So there's this donut shop that MJ works at, and Tom goes over there to see her, and he's gonna talk to her, and he's gonna talk to Ned to tell them who he is, but he sees that their lives are normal again, and he doesn't want to mess that up for them. He doesn't want to intervene with their lives anymore. So he just tells MJ like, "Oh, I'm Peter Parker." She's like, "Oh, nice to meet you," and that's pretty much. I don't even think he tells her his name. No, yeah, he tells her his name, but he just gets her coffee from her. He leaves the donut shop, and that's the last time he sees MJ and Ned in this movie. I'm sure they'll probably have them, obviously. And then he goes and visits Aunt May's grave. Oh my God, this whole thing's emotional. He goes and he visits Aunt May's grave, and Happy's there, right?
Yeah, like, wait, you know her? You know her too?
Mm-hmm. So Happy doesn't recognize Tom. That part, I mean, the MJ part got me, the Ned part got me, but Happy, I don't know. To me, because we've seen them, have a relationship since Homecoming, since all the movies. Seeing Happy not recognize Peter. Oh my god, so sad. And Happy's like, how do you know? How do you know May? And Peter says, "Oh, I know her through Spider-Man." And then there is pretty much it. They leave the grave. Tom leaves the grave, and Happy's there looking at it. And then now this is the ending, like the last scene of the movie. It's Tom. He gets a new apartment. And the box is a GED study guide. He's gonna get his GED, and now he has his own apartment. Right?
Yeah.
It's Christmas time.
Yeah.
And he makes his own suit. Talk about that real quick.
So the new suit resembles the one from the comics, but this time it's his own version, like not Tony Stark technology, but
exactly
his own version.
Yeah.
And then we got some glimpse of him swinging with his new suits, which is we could see what the full suit looks like through like figures or something.
Yeah.
And then this is where the movie ends.
Yeah. So yeah, we see Tom swinging through New York City in his new suit, which I love. It's red and blue. It's made out of cloth. It's his own suit. There's no adjustable eyes. There's no Stark technology like Ralphie said. It's his own thing, and he's listening to like a cop radio. I forget what it's called. Like a station radio on his phone for crimes, right?
Yeah.
And then it's just him swinging through New York City during Christmas time in the snow, and that's the end of the movie. And that part made me emotional because after everything Tom's been through, him losing everybody that he loved, losing Aunt May, him losing all the relationships that he's built over his whole life is gone. Now he's by himself, but he still has kind of like a smile on his face because he's Spider-Man and he knows that he has the responsibility, like from what Aunt May told him. And then he swings, and that's the end of the movie.
Yep, and the mid-credit scene, we left off Eddie Brock on the bar, like, okay, you tell me this puppet guy and this Green Hulk guy and this man with a bunch of armors around him, and this and that, which is of course none other than Venom.
Yeah, so we see.
The best holiday gift you could give Anne. Our movie all about me.
Oh my gosh! As we say Venom.
As the lethal protector, we get two gifts. Right, Eddie?
You do not deserve niceness.
Hold on. As we literally say Venom starts talking in the background. I swear this is just a video playing in the background. How long is this video?
Like,
this video is 10 hours long. It's like a fireplace video in the background. And the moment we say Venom, they start talking out of this whole time. Oh my gosh, what a coincidence. What a coincidence. Oh my gosh. All right, anyways. Yeah, so we see Venom. Oh, yeah, so the movie ends. I'm sorry, we jumped the whole thing. The movie ends, and then it's the title sequence, like the end title sequence, which is really nice. I like how they did it this time with the Three's the Magic Number by De La Soul. So we get to the mid-credit scene where Ralphie was saying Venom's there at a bar in Mexico, talking to the bartender. The bartender is I forget his name. From he's in Ted Lasso. I love Ted Lasso. If you haven't seen it, watch Ted Lasso. It's on Apple TV. So he's talking to the bartender. He's like, "Oh, what? You have a purple guy, a green guy named Hulk." And then they disappear because of the of the spell.
Yeah.
But as he disappears, the bartender's like, "Great, he didn't even pay for his tab." It happens all the time. And there's a little piece of venom on the bar.
Yeah. It confirms that he's now in the MCU, but a Tom Hardy Venom.
Yeah, so this is excuse me. There was a piece of venom left on the bar, and then that's the end of the sequence. And then now it's like, okay, Venom's in the MCU now. Well, the Venom, the symbiote, not Eddie Brock. At least this one.
Yeah, and then later on at the end credit scene, a trailer for Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah. Yeah, at the end credit was just a trailer for the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. We won't get into that. It's just a quick trailer. The movie looks amazing. But yeah. So overall, Ralphie, what did you think of this movie?
This movie gotta be one of the best films of 2021.
Yeah. So leading up to Spider-Man No Way Home, my favorite movie is I don't know, I haven't decided yet. Is the Suicide Squad. I love this more than Suicide Squad. It had more like it just. I love Suicide Squad so much. Love Suicide Squad, but this movie No Way Home just it met all of my expectations. It exceeded my expectations. Made me cry, laugh, smile. Made me so many emotions. My childhood was relived. And oh, okay, so Toby's the Spider-Man I grew up with.
Yeah.
Okay, I love Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. I saw the movies in the theaters, and then Tom is. I love Tom. Okay, basically what I'm saying, I want to see more Andrew Garfield movies.
Yep.
To me, of the Spider-Man, he stole the movie for me. Of the three, in as far as their conversations, as far as them talking to each other, I feel like Andrew was the funniest and all this other stuff. Toby was amazing. I love Toby. What else? What else do you want to say about this movie?
Gonna say is that this movie, man, it's worth it. Like, definitely recommend it to watch it, and I'm gonna give this movie a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm giving this movie a 10 out of 10 too. We're gonna watch it again soon. We saw it Thursday night, the night that it premiered,
And it's a rent theater.
yeah, and it was amazing. We loved it, and yeah, that's pretty much all I can say. We just basically ran through the whole movie, spoiled the whole movie. Things that we loved. Is there things that I didn't like? No, I love the movie straight in, beginning to end. I love the whole thing. Is there things I can nitpick? Probably. I'm not going to, because this movie was magical. And yeah, any last words about this movie before we wrap it up?
No.
Nothing. You say go watch it. Nothing?
Oh, yeah. Go watch it. And also, something what fans I really want to see back in 2019 with Toby, Andrew,
Them pointing at each other.
Tom Holland teaming up.
Why?
Because that's something what fans really want to
Oh
see.
yeah, yeah. Fans have been wanting this forever. We finally got it, and yeah. So go watch No Way Home. And I mean, if you got this far in the video, we assume you've seen it. Go watch it again. And yeah, thank you for watching this video. Thank you for visiting our channel. Please like, share, and subscribe if you're able to. I'm Chris,
And Ralph.
and we'll see y'all next time. Thank y'all.